General Charles Miriu Kahariri's tenure at the top of Kenya's military has not been without controversy, even though much of his career has been defined by discipline and steady progression rather than public drama. In 2025, he found himself at the center of political and constitutional debate after remarks linked to him and National Intelligence Service Director General Nordine Haji were interpreted as warnings against the now common "Ruto must go" protest slogan. Critics argued that such statements risked dragging the military into partisan politics, something the Kenyan constitution strictly discourages. Prominent political figures, including Busia Senator Okia Omtata and former NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua, openly challenged his position, accusing him of undermining democratic freedoms and overstepping the military's mandate. Around the same period, reports emerged suggesting that Kahariri had considered disciplinary action against opposition leader Raila Odinga over controversial remarks about a supposed coup attempt. The reports triggered backlash from Odinga's supporters, who viewed the move as intimidation, although no concrete action ultimately materialized. Legal challenges further intensified scrutiny of his leadership. In 2025, Kahariri, alongside then Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, faced lawsuits over the deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to manage civilian protests. Petitioners argued that using the military for internal security operations violated constitutional provisions, raising serious concerns about civil-military boundaries in Kenya's democracy. Even before his full appointment as Chief of the Defense Forces, his rise sparked debate within military and public circles. Questions were raised about adherence to the long-standing Tanje rules, a tradition guiding military succession, since he had not previously served as a service commander of the Army, Navy, or Air Force. Additionally, following the tragic helicopter crash that killed his predecessor, General Francis Ogola, some critics called for greater transparency in the investigation process, pointing to delays in releasing the final report. Despite these challenges, Kahariri has also taken a firm stance on internal discipline within the military. He has repeatedly warned against recruitment fraud within the Kenya Defense Forces, condemning bribery and exploitation of civilians, and vowing strict action against any personnel found culpable. Behind these controversies stands a career soldier whose journey began decades earlier. Born on November 24, 1966, though some sources cite April 3, 1965, Charles Miriu Kahariri was raised in Kenya in a relatively private family setting. Details about his upbringing remain limited, as is typical for high-ranking military officers, but accounts describe his father as a soft-spoken, tall, and composed man, traits that Kahariri is said to have inherited. His mother was also described as tall, and he grew up alongside at least one younger brother. Kahariri joined the Kenya Defense Forces on April 3, 1987, marking the beginning of a lifelong commitment to military service. Just over a year later, on April 15, 1988, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Kenya Navy. From the outset, his career took a naval path, where he would develop deep expertise in maritime operations and steadily rise through the ranks. His professional growth was reinforced by extensive academic and military training both locally and internationally. He earned a diploma in strategic and security studies from the United States Naval War College, a qualification that positioned him for higher strategic responsibilities. His training also took him across the world. In the United Kingdom, he attended the International Midshipman Course and a Senior Strategic Leadership course. In the United States, he completed the Naval Command course and an Executive Development course at the University of North Carolina. In India, he undertook a long navigation course, and in Italy, he trained in a flag-level Combined Maritime Component Command course. Back home in Kenya, he completed key courses in joint campaign planning as well as management and strategic planning. As his experience grew, so did his responsibilities. Kahariri served in various command and staff roles within the Kenya Defense Forces, building a reputation for professionalism and strategic competence. His expertise eventually led him to the position of Commander of the Kenya Navy, where he oversaw maritime security and played a critical role in safeguarding Kenya's coastline along the Indian Ocean. His leadership extended into academic and strategic institutions as well. At the National Defense College in Kenya, he served as Senior Directing Staff, Navy, later rising to Deputy Commandant and eventually Commandant. These roles placed him at the center of shaping Kenya's future military leaders and strategic thinkers. He also became chairperson of the council at the National Defense University Kenya, further cementing his influence in military education and policy. Kahariri's rise to the uppermost levels of military leadership continued when he was appointed Vice Chief of the Defense Forces, making him the second in command of the entire military. In this role, he oversaw coordination among the Army, Navy, and Air Force, gaining broad experience across all service branches. In 2024, following the death of General Francis Ogola, Kahariri was appointed Chief of the Defense Forces, the highest-ranking position in Kenya's military. As CDF, he became the professional head of the Kenya Defense Forces and the principal military advisor to the president, a role that carries immense responsibility for national security and defense policy. Throughout his long career, spanning more than 3 decades, his areas of expertise have remained consistent: maritime security, strategic defense planning, military leadership, and regional security cooperation. His steady progression from a young naval officer to a 4-star general reflects both longevity and institutional trust. On a personal level, General Kahariri is known to maintain a private family life. He is married to Mrs. Grace Kahariri, who serves as the chairperson of the Military Wives Association of Kenya, a role she assumed in May 2024. Together, they have 3 children and 1 grandson. Financially, like most senior military officers in Kenya, his exact net worth is not publicly disclosed. However, his earnings are structured by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. As Chief of the Defense Forces, his basic monthly salary ranges between approximately Kenya shillings 894,897 and Kenya shillings 1.2 million, with additional allowances of around Kenya shillings 336,000, bringing his total monthly gross to over Kenya shillings 1.5 million, depending on benefits and years of service. His long career, including possible participation in international peacekeeping missions, has likely contributed to his overall financial standing, although such details remain confidential. In the end, General Charles Mudiu Kahariri emerges as a figure shaped by discipline, global training, and decades of military service, yet one who now operates under the intense scrutiny that comes with leading a nation's armed forces in a politically sensitive environment.